People at the Capitol today seemed optimistic as Governor Brown took the reins. In her address, she says it's time for Oregon to move forward and get back to work. Just in front of Southtown Lanes bowling alley, you can see behind me, it continues to burn tonight. Now, when I first arrived on scene, flames were coming out of the top of the structure. The roof had just collapsed. When you guys arrived, there were employees inside, but you got everyone out safely. Any word as to how this might have started, or is it too early to tell? You can see behind me, this is actually one of the cars that was flipped in that possible tornado. You can see it's completely flipped over. People have been stopping by, dropping off flowers and balloons, leaving cards. But I want to take you inside of the house. This is still an active scene. You can see crime tape still in front of the house. This bill is meant to keep firearms out of the hands of criminals, but some gun owners feel this bill is only inching closer to taking away the right to bear arms. You hear that? This grass is so dry right now. Crews are practicing digging up a fire line to prevent dry grass like this from acting as a fuel for the fire. It has tons of artwork. For instance, this glass at the entrance is etched with words directly from patients. It features words like hopeful and fearless, and that's a design that's mirrored inside to keep the patients in mind. If you do know of a certain water hazard in an area, let the State Moraine Board know. They compile a list of all of those online. We post a link to that at kmtr.com. It's certainly a great resource to have before you head out here. Reporting live tonight from Springfield, I'm Angelica Carrillo for News Source 16. I'm here on Main Street, the same area that's been the center of concern for many folks. Police tell me speed tends to be a factor in this area because you can see Highway 126 and then it shifts onto Main Street and then it turns into a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit zone. But police tell me people continue to maintain that high rate of speed. In 2014, police issued over 1,100 citations on Main Street, 72 of those for speeding. Due to recent tragic events, police have been focusing on traffic violations on Main Street.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Officer Quinones, Springfield Police Department. The reason why I pulled you over, I was running a radar unit over there.
I was speeding.
The majority of those citations were driving while suspended, not using a seatbelt, or using a cell phone. But some of our viewers are still concerned about safety, specifically the speed on Main Street. One Facebook user said, quote, "If you paid attention to everything around you, this would not be happening. So do everybody a favor and slow down, please." Another wrote, "A pedestrian-operated walk sign with a long enough time for even small children, elderly, or handicapped to get across."
35, maybe.
Quinones says although the department has been watching for traffic violations, it doesn't have enough staff to focus on that alone, especially with a high call load.
For calls of pretty high significance that you can't disregard to go make traffic stops.
By the people have kind of been a little bit more cautious since the accident?
I believe people have been cautious, but yet if we were to go and monitor the crosswalk, you could still see people either not using a crosswalk or motorists not paying attention to the crosswalks.
Quinones says people on wheels and on foot need to be alert at all times. For example, this woman crossing the street with headphones.
And that's going to diminish her ability to hear traffic. Even though you're in the crosswalk, there are vehicles that aren't paying attention, and you have to be looking out.
Police say it's also a good idea to wear highly visible clothing, something bright like this vest.
We didn't know how he got there, how long he'd been there.
Brad Black and his wife had been tracing their family tree through an online ancestry site. It was then that he learned his great-grandfather had been committed to the state hospital in 1932.
One thing led to another, and we went on the website and took a look, and there was great-grandpa Elwood. He was there, you know, number 3009.
Black immediately began the process to claim his great-grandfather's cremains, finally freeing him from the hospital. But that's not all that came in the mail.
I'd never seen a picture of my great-grandfather, so it was another way of connecting that we didn't expect.
Black also received medical records detailing his great-grandfather's life, details, and his existence alone, unknown to Black.
So I suspect that great-grandpa being institutionalized was one of the black secrets of the family that was just never, ever talked about. which would explain why we never had heard of him, or knew any of his history.
A dark history that was certainly kept very quiet for many families until now.
This is the new memorial that was dedicated in 2014.
More than 3,400 unclaimed, forgotten souls remain at the hospital today.
Inside this building here are the original copper canisters that the cremated remains were placed in many years ago.
The deteriorating copper canisters now sit empty. The ashes that once filled them have been transferred to ceramic tubes embedded along the memorial wall. Each person no longer labeled with just a number, but with a year, a name.
Some families have chosen to leave them here. They feel like this is a respectful place, and I happen to, when I noticed coming in here, somebody stopped by and dropped off flowers. I mean, you see that periodically happen where visitors will come and do that, pay their respects.
But getting to this point has been a process. 10 years in the making. A team working with written records between 1914 and the 70s to identify the remains.
Even in our records, it showed that we had a family member that was reinterred, but yet we had potentially an urn with a number on that was associated with that name.
Only if a person was successfully identified with their number, their families have a chance to claim them and finally free them from the hospital and take them home. While some are happy by the surprise, others wonder why this happened. Why didn't anyone claim them?
There's still at times a stigma, with mental health, and the fact that a family member from a long time ago got forgotten.
And now a wall that stands as a reminder, illuminating a dark past and offering hope for future patients and their families.
We need to honor those people of the past who weren't lucky enough to live today and experience that change in how we treat people with mental illness.
And others finally home.
There'll be a little kind of memorial to great-grandpa, and he'll have a place to live here.
Now, since 2008, the hospital has returned 183 forgotten souls to families across the country. But as you saw there, many are still waiting. If you think you might have a family member at the Oregon State Hospital, an online database lists all the people who were able to be identified. You can find a link for that database at kmtr.com. And I'm Angelica Carrillo. New tonight, we're learning that fire follows several reports of gunshots and a police presence at that home just hours earlier. It's our top story tonight. A neighborhood lit up by flames overnight. This is what it looked like just after 2:30 Saturday morning at this home on the 4700 block of Tara Lee Lane in West Eugene.
I just got home from evening out, and it was like, why is the neighborhood all blocked off? So the cops pretty much swarmed the neighborhood and shut everything down.
Swarming the neighborhood after several reports of gunshots. When they got there, the house was set ablaze.
Everybody was being pulled from their houses that was next to it, so it was a pretty hectic night out here last night.
Authorities got the fire under control, and that's when police moved in and found 2 bodies inside.
Just heard also that supposedly a gentleman had just got out of prison and came home last night. They're supposed to have a party of some type.
Police responded to the same home just hours earlier. Records show at least one person was arrested at the same home late Friday afternoon after some sort of argument.
This is normally a quiet neighborhood, and we generally don't have this kind of noise out here. So it was just kind of odd.
While investigators work to piece together what happened, neighbors are still stunned.
But the community is pretty tight back here. It's a lot of kids, which is kind of... I have 2 kids myself, which it doesn't make it too safe for me right now. I don't want them to leave the cul-de-sac anymore.
Again, it's not clear how those victims died. Investigators didn't want to speak with us today because this is an open investigation. Of course, you can count on News Source 16 on air and online for continuing coverage of this developing story. Coming up on News Source 16, many celebrated Earth Day despite all the rain. How one company is hoping to spread green living to the community. Duck fans are known for being loud and proud, so loud you might actually need earplugs. For the first time in nearly 10 years, active duty soldiers are also being called in to help. Oregon's National Guard is equipped to handle these types of operations. An officer is now being praised by his chief for his restraint and maturity. Sarah Doloff has a story. And at Oregon State University, a student is headed to nationals next month to prove he's the best collegiate logger in the country. How do you feel about pizza?
I love it.
Well, people in Italy do too, and coming up next on News Source 16, it's a pizza party like no other.
How's our weekend weather actually shaping up for us?
Actually really warm out there if you got a chance to head out, but we are going to start to cool down and possibly get some showers in our forecast. I'll have all those details coming up right after the break.
And now, First Alert Weather with Angelica Carrillo.
Welcome back. Hope you all got a chance to get out there and enjoy your Father's Day and the first day of summer. Didn't see a whole lot of sunshine out there, but it did finally break through this afternoon, and that trend is going to continue. Clouds in the morning and then afternoon sunshine. As we take a look at your satellite and radar composite, we are seeing still a high pressure system completely dominate the area. We will see a cold front move in tomorrow and possibly bring, like I mentioned, some showers for parts of the area. So what does the Futurecast have to say about it? And we are going to see the fog start to roll in overnight. We are at about 74 right now. And for tomorrow, that fog will linger, but then we will clear by the afternoon hours. Perfect for kickoff tomorrow, about 77 for a high for tomorrow. For the next week, you will start to see temperatures again drop down. We'll see a slight disturbance move through on Monday, only bringing us a 20% chance of rain. Really nothing to worry about there. Absolutely beautiful week as we round out the last week of summer, and then we will start to see another disturbance move through late Thursday and into Friday. It is going to be chilly overnight.